Isn't this all a bit silly? Such a serious subject, animal cruelty, and you're making a historic town change its name.
Well, we just came to them with a friendly suggestion, but I want to put a little bit of context to the story. We released footage across the British wool industry showing horrific and really prolific cruelty. And you know what? Very few media outlets, including this one, covered it because the footage is so
Well, can
gory.
I just say one thing? One of the reasons why we haven't shown that footage this morning is that it is incredibly disturbing. We couldn't show it when children are watching. And it's the shearing of sheep. We tried to find something in it that we could show to illustrate what your concerns are.
And
but it was just too disturbing.
Volumes.
So that's maybe why the people haven't shown it, not a lack of concern. And it's to do with very brutal shearing of sheep.
So awful. And, you know, so we got creative, and this is just a fun way to share the facts with people. And the fact is this: an investigator visited 50 shearing sheds across the UK and documented cruelty in every single one of them.
So let's put that to Laura, because you're a district councillor for wool in the area. It was just a fun way of presenting an idea, Laura. What did you and your residents make of this?
Oh, I think we'd completely agree. Of course, it's a way of raising publicity, big publicity stunt, creative way to do it. Unfortunately, the village of Wool, actually, the name comes from the Saxon word for well, because wool is built around springs.
So it's not even named
it's not actually
after
anything to do with sheep.
Right.
We do have, it's a rural community, we do have a lot of farmers. The one thing I would say is that the residents of Wool completely supportive of anti-animal cruelty. Obviously, it's horrific. But as a community, we've got local butchers, we've got local farm shops. I actually used to be vegan. I eat very little meat now, but what I do eat, I can tell you how many miles it's come. I could probably tell you the field it came from.
So interestingly,
so as a community, we're really aware of those issues.
You're a vegan yourself, so at certain points you have, like Elisa, your theories and feelings have been aligned.
Yeah.
But what do you make of the fact that they're trying to make a bit of publicity, if that's how you see it, out of something like this? Because it could come across, I'd imagine, to the rural residents you have as a patronising suggestion?
I think we didn't overreact. We clearly saw it for what it was. It's not so much that it's patronising. I think it's just that there's quite a few residents in Wool who might not want to align themselves to Peter's, some of Peter's previous record, you know, with rehoming animals and things like that. So whilst we are completely supportive of sustainable, cruelty-free farming, and most people in Wool will be getting their meat from the local butchers, from the local farm shop, it's more of an issue around sustainability. A vegan diet, I've been vegan, it's predominantly based around soya that flies thousands of air miles. So there's a sustainability issue, carbon footprint issues. So
let's come down. Let's talk to the sheep farmer, shall we? Because about the charges of cruelty. Ben Jones is with us this morning. So, you know, the footage that I've seen that they've supplied is very disturbing, and there must be examples of brutal shearing that is deeply cruel to the sheep involved. What do you say about that?
To be honest, I haven't seen the footage myself. The footage that I've seen was from sheep that were being sheared. I think it was in Argentina, the video that I looked at. All I can say is from my personal experience, we use shearing contractors to come and shear our sheep. Frankly, they're better at it than I am. And if I saw someone coming in and coming to do work on our farm and abusing our sheep, then they would be very swiftly thrown off the farm, and I would speak to all my neighbours, and they wouldn't come and should be shearing again anywhere on a farm in our area. I'm sure that there are places where things go on that shouldn't go on, and you know, it's always difficult because I think what PETA tend to do is that they use these videos to try and sort of tarnish a whole industry and try and say that this is industry practice, this is what's going on. And it's just not true. It's just not, that isn't what's going on in every shearing shed across the UK.
OK. What Elisa will say, well, that your investigators went to 50 different shearing sheds, different farms, so the footage was gathered from somewhere, so maybe some tighter regulation. What do you make, though, I thought I'd ask you this, Ben, what do you make of this assertion that the letter from PETA says, which is the wool is stolen from the sheep? Vegan wool is good for animals and the environment. So actually, the shearing of the sheep. Talk me through the idea that what they're suggesting is the sheep don't consent to this.
Well, the truth of it is that shearing these days is a welfare issue. As a sheep, the last thing that the sheep wants is a great big thick woolly coat on it through the height of our summer in this country. If the sheep don't get sheared, you tend to get things with some welfare issues with fly strike and things like that, where the sheep end up with maggots being with flies laying eggs in the fleece. And then the maggots get in and sort of start attacking the sheep.
Well, let's put that to Lisa. I mean, there are issues, aren't there, to do with overheating and keeping infection and, you know, bacteria and maggots and things like that down.
Well, think of it this way. Before humans came along and invented the shearing process, it's not like sheep were dropping dead.
Well, they might have been, actually. They probably are.
Able in the natural order of things. Sheep grow just enough wool to keep themselves warm in the winter months, and then they shed that wool all by themselves in the summer months. Of course.
Well, let me ask you this. What is the alternative? Because there are issues with cotton that causes very big environmental problems, many argue, because of irrigation to grow the crops. There are certainly issues with polyester and other man-made fibres clogging up our rivers, harming fish, affecting their breathing. There isn't a simple solution, is there?
There are wonderful vegan alternatives available today. There is organic cotton, there's bamboo, there's hemp, there's recycled polyester. And you know what this comes down to is it's 2018. We're not cave people. We no longer need to drape ourselves in the skins or the bits of animals. There are options that are better for animals, better for the environment, and they're readily available on the high street and from designers.
Laura, PETA has said that they will give a vegan wool household sort of blanket to every household that was willing to change the name to vegan wool rather than wool. What did you make of that?
Yeah, so there's just over 2,000 households in the village of Wool. That's a lot of blankets. I've got battery hens, ex-battery hens, in my garden. They were £5 each to adopt. For the cost of those blankets, you could adopt an awful lot of ex-battery hens, or you could give the blankets to homeless people.
So there's a better places for them to go, maybe. One last word from you, Ben, because I know that you were shaking your head as Lisa was talking about the fact that what would have happened to the sheep in the past. What do you make of what she was saying?
Well, look, as far as I'm concerned, we've got a fantastic product in British wool. It's a sustainable product. It's a natural product. It needs to be taken off the sheep anyway. What do we do with the wool if we're not going to use it? It just seems ridiculous to me when we've got all this plastic pollution and sort of plastic fibres getting washed out into the ocean from washing man-made fibres. Why aren't we using more wool?
Well, let me just say, for anyone who has any doubts, who's under the illusion that this is a benign industry, I challenge you, go to the PETA website, watch the footage for yourself. Most people cannot stomach more than 30 seconds of it. And if you can't watch it,
certainly there needs to be tighter regulation.
Absolutely.
I think everyone would agree to that.
The wool industry has a lot to account for.
Yeah.
But Ben Jones is arguing that he wouldn't do that. So it's about regulation.
And in fact, the majority of shepherds in this country, certainly in my experience, I've got friends that take care and they take great pride in their herds as well, and actually they're looking after their sheep.
How many more investigations do we need to see? We documented cruelty in 50 shearing sheds. 50. How many more is it going to take? Another 50, another 500 before people realize that this cruelty is endemic, that it's systematic in the industry?
Can I just jump in? Our local dog rescue charity rehomes 100% of the animals that go through its doors. I don't think PETA's headquarters have the same record.